Hey guys, how are you doing? This is Taku David from the Mentored Conversations platform. And this is a platform where we have conversations with various professionals and industry enthusiasts across the board. And today we're joined by an exciting man, Mr. York Zucchi, the chief coffee drinker, as he likes to call himself. And I'll allow York, who's really been a mentor and a visionary in my eyes for many, many years, to give you guys a little bit of insight into who he is, what makes him tick, and what's the background. So York, just firstly, I want to say thank you for being on the program today. And York, take us away. Who are you?
Hey, it's really awesome to be on the show, and hello everyone. So quick background: Swiss born, worked all over the world. Half of my 33 years in business is in big corporates and half as an entrepreneur. And there isn't a business I haven't screwed up, an initiative I haven't failed, that you can't learn from. So if there's one takeaway from life is don't worry about failure or success. Learn the skills on how to get up again when you do inevitably experience setbacks.
Lovely, York. I think that's just a brief insight into who you are. From my perspective, I first met York when I was still a university student at the University of Pretoria. And I don't know if you remember that. I was in the crowd, York. And he gave a very inspiring chat at the Gibbs Institute. And from then on, I've been able to be a passenger and witnessing his journey and working with entrepreneurs across Africa in particular. So I just wanted to get an insight into what makes you tick and why you decided to work with entrepreneurs.
I think it's for selfish reasons. Like, I love impact initiatives. I love things that actually make a difference in people's lives. So entrepreneurship is the fastest route to market for me. It's a kind of going, hey, I've been given this, and I've been given this. What can I make out of it? So I don't have to go through approval committees. I can tinker, play around, launch it, and get a reaction, and see if people are even interested in the shit that I'm doing. So that's why I love entrepreneurship. It's a playground for adults. What drives me? Why I love helping entrepreneurs? It's that feeling when you see somebody's light up, when they figure out they're good at something and there's potential to sustain themselves, to improve the quality of life of their families and their communities. I mean, it's the biggest kick in the world. I mean, there's nothing like it. So it's like, why would I not do it?
I love that. And I'm going to play the devil's advocate a bit because, I'm someone who's not just talking the talk, but walking the talk and really experiencing the real life of an entrepreneur. And very often, we speak to someone like yourself, we get very motivated, very excited about entrepreneurship. But a lot of people aren't really ready for that journey of entrepreneurship and are really used to what we call maybe the golden handcuffs of the corporate world and aren't really ready to dive into the nitty-gritty and the hardcore work of entrepreneurship. And I understand that you have a background in the corporate world, having worked for big firms like JP Morgan and the likes. So for you, how was that transition from the corporate world to entrepreneurship? And in the end, were you happy with that decision that you made?
Look, okay, so I totally agree with you, and you raised such a good point, because I think entrepreneurship is such a broad umbrella where people sometimes get lost in the motivational fluff around it. Believe in yourself, pursue your dreams, start a business. And between us, I think that's nonsense. I think having worked for many years in large companies and starting a business is one of many paths. If you're a young person who comes from a disadvantaged background, doesn't have access to networks, funding, and so forth, you'll have a very different path than somebody who does. And so there's so many paths that I almost am hesitant to share my story, because it's my circumstances and a path I forged out of my own way. Having said that, I do want to go on the marketing fluff. I do think entrepreneurship is an attitude. So, and I think the world is shifting towards or away from, hey, I want to employ you, to, hey, I'm looking for an entrepreneurially minded person to join the team. And if entrepreneurship could be distilled in a sentence, it's somebody who rolls up his sleeves, isn't prepared to try something and improve something. It doesn't have to start a business outside a company. It can be improving processes, optimizing systems. It can be reducing the time it takes to onboard a client. It can be improving bundling a product with a service. So I think you can be an entrepreneur if you're a waiter. I know some people are sticklers for definitions, but I really believe anybody can be an entrepreneur. Well, you might not be a great entrepreneur, but I think entrepreneurial thinking and attitude, which you embody since forever. I mean, you stalk me, but I stalk you. So it's like kind of, I think there's something about it when you're allowed to tinker and improve something. And when you improve something, value is created, and it might be rewarded in your own business, or it might be rewarded as a little bonus at the end of the year.
Thank you for that insight, and good to know that someone's watching. I'm taking
I'm watching
into
you,
what I post.
watching you.
So, we speak about entrepreneurship, and on this show, I like to prefer ideas and just, sort of generate a think tank, and maybe we'll motivate the right mind, or maybe the right eyes will come across what we're talking about. You've got experience working across the board in Europe, in South Africa, where I think a lot of your experiences in South Africa and other African countries. What conditions are there for entrepreneurship in Europe that we could emulate within Africa to foster an environment that promotes entrepreneurship?
Oh gosh, that's a brilliant question. I wish you'd ask it somebody who can actually answer it intelligently, but I'll give it a shot. I actually think Africa is a better entrepreneurial playground than perhaps Europe, and I say this with full cognizance that generalizations are dangerous and they make an ass of whoever speaks of them. But we have this dream of this perception that entrepreneurship is, hey, I have an idea, I start a business and it grows or it fails. And I come from a world that says nothing can teach you. It's a bit like love, You can talk about it all you want, but until you've actually been in a relationship, you don't actually know what it's like. And so I'm a great believer that entrepreneurship starts really small. Like in your academy, in your entrepreneurship academy that you launched, like there's a wonderful course on how to start a farm if you live in a shack. And there, Professor Nord Malan teaches you, okay, so grow this if you got this much space, then package it and then put it in a little plastic and sell it to the local community in the street. And that won't make you rich, but what that does is teach you about packaging, branding, about assessing how many chilies and the apple you should put in the bag, about right pricing. It starts creating cash flow income. You start understanding long-term, short-term stock pricing, go to market, knocking on people's door. And so I think we've got to get away from this word entrepreneurship ecosystems and just say, listen, wherever your background or circumstances, for heaven's sake, start something, no matter how small or insignificant. It may not be the monetary outcome, but the learning is going to be exponential.
I think I like that you touch on that, on the concept of it may not be the monetary outcome. And in my short experience of living outside of Africa and contrasting the experiences that I've had back home, it looks like in the rest of the world, people have mastered how to generate value out of nothing and have mastered the art of how to put a price tag on something, which is something that we're still very afraid to do in Africa. What I mean by this is that there's nothing for free in most of the developed world. You pay for everything. In Africa, we still have a problem paying the car guard on the street outside who's protecting your car. Whereas in Europe and everywhere you go, you pay for parking everywhere you are. So how do we develop this mindset of appreciating entrepreneurial effort and compensating it or rewarding it financially?
To the risk of arguing on generalities, I don't know if that's 100% true. I think we do value, say, for example, in South Africa, the spaza shops, the mamas selling food on the side of a street. They provide value, convenience of having a location next to a taxi stop. So I do think people are willing to pay. Is there right pricing? That's a different question. Is that, there's a scarcity when you have 1 million parking lots, you value that space less than in Rome, where you have 10,000 cars competing for 5 parking lots. So I do think it's a supply and demand issue. I don't know if it's a value thing, but we don't value thing. I think people are willing to pay for things if it solves a real problem. And I suspect the challenge, and I'm guilty of this, is sometimes we entrepreneurs believe a value with our own hype around what we're selling. When people are going, oh, get a job, this is shit. This is not useful. It's nice to have, and so why should I pay for it? So I don't know. I actually think there's much more opening of wallets in Africa than people give it credit for. The township economy isn't that big for nothing.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that it's about creating real solutions, solving a real problem. Because I think many of us entrepreneurs, we fall in love with our ideas. It's a great idea on paper, but the solution is not really a match for the environment in which we're operating. So I think you definitely hit the nail on the head there. York, let's talk about the initiative that you've rolled out with the Startup Tribe. And maybe you can just share with everyone what the Startup Tribe is, and then I will lead on to the questions I have.
Sure. So we started 5 years ago. I'll give you the PR-free version. We were during COVID, like everybody locked down. We decided to record some courses, put them online. Thought we become rich by selling them. Nobody bought them except one friend, a listener looking at you. And then we said, okay, let's make it free. 4,500 people signed up. The local mayor of a town saw this and said, York, can't we use this to help our community? So we created a landing page, put the face of a mayor on it, and it was a runaway success. And the next thing, we run the online academies for 455 cities in 29 countries. So it grew from really a stupid, absolutely undifferentiated idea to, I think, today we're the world's 8th largest online academy.
Wow. That's fascinating. And I would say I've got a similar experience with regards to providing online education and really just trying to foster learning. Very interesting that, like I was saying, perhaps people aren't ready to pay for that yet, but we will maybe get to that point in the future where people are going to value paying for these learning opportunities. In that regard, what have you identified to be really some of the key areas that entrepreneurs in Africa or around the world in general need to learn? What are the lessons, the academic lessons that really build an entrepreneur?
I think it's two. One is get out of your head. Go out there. There's tons of material, whether it's on our academies or on Udemy or Coursera or YouTube or TikTok. Go and learn anything you want, but there comes a point when you have to get out there and be slapped and be rejected. So that is the best teacher, because if I know myself, if I were to speak to my younger self, I wouldn't listen to my older self. Like watch out for cash flow, be careful of expenses, make sure your fixed costs, your overheads are low. The stuff like rent and and the moment I made a bit of money, what did I do? Ignore every advice I give to everybody else and make all the mistakes myself. It's actually astounding how much we believe our own crap. So get out of your head, go out there, learn that, and get out and learn, listen to the market. And I think the second point is learn that it's not about you. So when somebody goes out, I don't know how many of you watching this today are dating, are in relationship and so forth, but I doubt, especially if you're married, I doubt you went to somebody the first time and you said, hi, you don't know me, but do you mind if we get married? So you probably got rejected a few times, and so after a while you develop the strength to cope with rejection. And so, learn. The second thing is really learn that rejection is not something about you as a human being. It's just the market giving you harsh lessons and wanting you to succeed, but not quite the way you positioned at the first round.
That's true. That's exciting. Talking about Africa, talking about young people, talking about the future. What opportunities are you seeing emerging or developing in Africa for young people?
Yeah.
Where should we be looking to apply ourselves?
Totally. So guys, girls out there, I know a lot of youth unemployment stats are circulating. I know it's flipping hard to get a job and all that. Let me dispel some myth. There are no jobs out there. So first and foremost, forget about applying to the big companies, corporates, governments, and all that. That's not to say they're bad actors. They have a role to play, but they're not in the business of hiring. No entrepreneur worth their salt wants to hire as many people as possible. So on that wonderfully positive and inspiring note, I want to say this. One, doesn't matter what your age bracket is, learn skills that will always generate an income. So enroll in a TVET college, technical college, meaning learn plumbing, electrical, learn car fixing, learn welding, learn skills that might not make you wealthy beyond your dreams, but give you the practical skills for which there's a demand in the market, for which you can charge and pay your bills, as opposed to sending 10,000 CVs. And the days of going to university, forget about them. University has a role, but it's not necessary right now. So learn technical skills, go and sell your knowledge, solve problems, earn an income, and then slowly see if you can't build a business out of that. The second thing is, don't underestimate working in the small and medium-sized sector. Now, of course, it'll pay much less, but when you're involved in a small business, you learn much more. You're much more hands-on, and sometimes it's not just about the money. It's incredibly rewarding to have been given the responsibility and the freedom to tinker, improve, to close sales, to improve a business. Is so incredibly rewarding. So I don't just go for the job opportunities that don't exist, but everybody shouts that you need a job. Get practical skills.
I love that. I think that's very insightful, and I think that's going to impact and be very beneficial to many lives out there. In your experience, York, and as a human being, what would you say was maybe one of the most consequential lessons that you learned in your journey to become the man that you are now, and to provide the sort of impact that you're providing?
True, it's a philosophical. Well, you didn't warn me this is going to be a philosophy.
We're going to touch on everything, York. Touch on everything.
I am the York. I shall the Zen.
Because for me, looking from the outside, I would say that you really seem to be a person who has selflessly given yourself to this cause. This cause for entrepreneurship, for helping to develop leaders, helping to develop people's lives and their businesses. And I really wonder, what makes that brain tick? What was the moment that made this guy say, okay, this is what I want to do?
So look, if you had been any of my business partners of days past, you would have been cautious about the statement, what brain York even has. Having said that, so I think the biggest lesson is that good things take time. And so I used to be, I want to start something and it has to grow quickly and it has to pay the bill. I think the success of a startup tribe and some of the other initiatives, I gave them time like a good minestrone. I put them on low heat. I found myself other sources of income, whether it's jobs or consulting or lecturing. And slowly I made sure that it took off slowly, and I learned. And when you give things time, meaning you listen, you spend time with clients, with students who are, in my case, on our platform. You have time and the mental capacity to tweak and experiment and improve. Whereas if it was my only bread and butter, it was only my bread and butter, which is a weird combination.
No butter.
I might be under such pressure to close deals that I don't improve, I don't listen anymore. I just try and push and push. So I think my best advice as a human being is, if it's important enough, find a way where you can keep the flame going for a long time. Maybe it won't be on maximum flame. Maybe it's every evening for 2 hours. Maybe it's every Saturday. But just make sure that you give it enough time to cook.
Lovely. York, I think we're running out of time on the program, but I would be amiss
God.
if I didn't ask you about this. I would be absolutely amiss if I didn't ask you, what do you think about AI? What are the advantages for, and I'm speaking to my constituents, for entrepreneurial youth, whether in Europe, whether in Latin America, whether in Africa? And what are the inherent risks in your eyes? AI, a yay or a nay?
A major yay. Now, Huna Beep wants to be a bookkeeper and do books for the rest of their lives, or do administrative tasks. Guys, girls out there, learn the tools of AI. Watch every YouTube on AI. Download all the apps on your cheap phone. Play around with it. Learn tinkering. Learn how to ask the right question, how to really use, like a car. You know, there isn't a time. AI is nothing new. We're right now in year 2 of a 10-year revolution. We had the same thing when the internet came out. We were at the beginning going, oh my God, it's going to disrupt society. We're all going to lose our jobs. It was when the Gutenberg press came out, books, print. We go through this shit all the time. It's going to be awesome. It's going to revolutionize a lot of things. But if you want to be at top of the game, like we use AI to send proposals, or after this meeting to summarize it in action call. Learn how to use a tool, and there's going to be a market for you. It's not going to be you. Yeah, remember, we're not going to find a job, but please do me a favor. Tell me which AI tool right now you can download, which does welding, fixes plumbing, installs a kitchen, or repairs a car. If you show me the app that can do that, fantastic, well done. But my point here is, learn it, become the master of all the free tools that are out there. And that's your superpower.
I love that. York, thank you so much for your insights. We're going to have listeners who want to find out where you are, who want to tune into your podcast, who want to hear your thoughts. Where will they find you?
I don't really do much social media anymore. So I'd rather suggest they follow you, stalk you, and maybe you can put your academy on there. That's always a great thing. But I'm not really doing much online anymore. I'm more focused on doing the work. But sometimes I happen to be on LinkedIn, but I'm here and there. Sorry.
Thank you very much, York. Guys, there you've had it, York Zucchi, the chief coffee drinker, an entrepreneur, visionary, and overall just a great man. York, thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation.
Ciao.
Ciao.